Sit with your thoughts for a minute. There's no harmonic content happening here, and the goal of that guitar lead isn't to have a beautiful melody or anything that makes sense. It's just a backdrop of uneasiness. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lone University. Sabotage is from the fourth Beastie Boys album, titled Ill Communication, released in 1994. And the reason I picked this song today is completely different than the way I normally pick songs for the channel. Nobody asked for this song. I'm picking this song because I simply can't stand it. But considering my whole MO for this channel has been exploring unfamiliar musical territory with an open mind, I'm going to give Beastie Boys another shot today. So Mark, why don't you like this song at all? Well, I'm glad you asked. I used to play the hell out of these games in high school, and those were some of the best memories I've made with my pals, learning a lot of new music, but I always hated when Sabotage came up. It was part of the campaign mode, I believe, on both games, and you couldn't skip it. And it just was an abrasive song. It didn't sound musical to me. It was like nails on a chalkboard. I hated playing it. That song stands out. It's the first time I'd ever heard it was those games. And I'm thinking I've gotten into bands like Fugazi and further explored bands like Rage Against the Machine. And when I think back to the reasons I didn't like Sabotage, I'm going, I might appreciate this today. Maybe hardcore punk is my entry point back into Beastie Boys. So this one's for me today. It's because I can't stand the song. We'll see how it hits today. I've never seen the music video. Let's check it out. Here's Sabotage from Beastie Boys. Kind of an intense video. Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago. This is a lot more listenable nowadays. And here's the thing. This is a hugely popular song. I've heard clips of it and, pop culture. You hear it around, you hear it out in the wild. But the one thing I really had no idea when I was playing this back on Rock Band or Guitar Hero, and maybe I knew it at the time, but I kind of forgot about it. I didn't know this intro was on bass. And I think I just deleted that from my memory playing the game because I just hated the song. But I think I was scrolling on Instagram and saw someone playing that intro and remember thinking, was that on bass? Because it has that very guitar-like tone, just fuzzy. And of course, you're playing Rock Band and Guitar Hero through, what did I have, a 13-inch CRT TV? You could hear bass on those speakers. So this is a good chance for me to revisit that. And I do remember that sort of tense interval that rides through the whole song. It's a dominant 7 interval, which holds a lot of tension. I'm going to go back to the beginning. And again, this whole first part, it contains the things I've come to like about bands like Fugazi and such. Some of the other post-hardcore flavored bands I've reviewed here on the channel. I think what I didn't like was that sort of hip-hop turntable thing that comes in a bit later. It just was, I don't know, maybe I had the damn TV too loud. It just was like unpleasant. And maybe that's what they're going for. So right when it kicks in, yeah, up here in A-flat. Big hemiola there too. It's riding in groups of 3. Da, ba, 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 ba. My mouth is singing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. My hand is hitting 1, 2, 1, 2. So ba, 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 da, ba, ba, ba. It's a hemiola, 2 against 3. That's rhythmic dissonance, not harmonic dissonance like. But I've often used this expression about rhythmic dissonance, beat displacement, things that kind of throw the groove off or flip the groove on its head. And just like the dissonance, I would argue that this bass riff interval is providing, the dominant 7, we also have a layer of rhythmic dissonance, kind of fighting against those drums that are just one, just straight, and you have the bump, 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 bump. So it just provides that unsettling center of gravity, musically speaking. And again, I'm kind of seeing that more in a, mature light now. Yeah, I get it. right, let me get to this part I don't like. Sabotage. I mean, again, I've analyzed so much music on the channel. Had I not heard this, I'd probably be like, wow, this is really tense and interesting, and go into my usual spiel about that. But I'm just kind of primed by how I used to think about this song. It's intense. You know, I've always talked about things in Fugazi's music, Rage Against the Machine, and I'm not sure why I'm really comparing them so much to those two bands. It's just that's what it reminds me of when I talk about the minimal use of harmonic content and some of the tense parts. You have noises from the guitars. You have this, you know, turntable thing. You have a lot of scratchiness. Those are the same comments I made about songs like Repeater. I did Fugazi not too long ago, and, you know, Calm Like a Bomb, Rage Against the Machine. The whole verse is Tom Morello doing that pitch whammy, just providing this backdrop of unsettling tension. They're really trying to make a visceral statement, even outside of the lyrics, just musically too. So I understand that layering more today, actually sitting down and giving this a proper listen. But what I was going to say about the dominant interval, when I say dominant, it just means flat 7. You hear a dominant chord, you hear flat 7, it's the same thing. So if I play a major scale, you just flat the 7, which would naturally exist in the minor. So that interval that the bass is riding on, dominant intervals really want to go somewhere. They're tense in the way that maybe a tritone is. But the thing about tritones is they don't really necessarily have a place to resolve just on their own. Now, if you put a tritone in context with a kind of that thing, it has some context, but a dominant interval on its own, it really wants to go back to the 1. It's like 5-1. Dominant 7. So it kind of wants to go here. That's where the chord naturally would resolve to, but it's really just going back and staying tonicized, if you will. And it's never giving you that 5-1 thing. It's just going, and it mostly rides on that. So again, when I say things like unsettling and just never really resolving and kind of keeping you in a holding pattern of musical tension, that interval does it pretty well. And it uses such few notes that you don't have a lot of context to really know what the key is other than just A flat or G sharp minor, which I love that key, and I hear that pentatonic. So interesting, just minimalist approach there. Yeah. Almost sounds like it's popped up top. Big G sharp minor, A flat minor, pentatonic. Right here, I've really never noticed that at first, back then. Yeah, you never hear that kind of stuff on a TV speaker. Never. Yeah. Nails on a chalkboard, right? I just remember like hating playing this part. You know, we'd play songs like Rush, Closer to the Heart, Through the Fire and the Flames, Dragon Force, whatever. I just remember this coming up and going, no, not again. It just seemed like it was always coming up. This and Say It Ain't So, and what else was on that game? Tons of stuff. Good times. I would give anything to go back to those days, just for a day. Simpler times. Yeah, that whole passage, I mean, I feel like I'm watching or listening to a Fugazi song. I'm going to reiterate the same thing I said. There's no harmonic content happening here, and the goal of that guitar lead isn't to have a beautiful melody or anything that makes sense. It's just a backdrop of uneasiness. Sound effects with just your instrument, just kind of screechy. It gives context to the lyrics, everything else. I get the reasoning now, you know? Watch that little run. No, it didn't do it that time. Yeah. Now that almost reminds me of that break in Waiting Room, Fugazi, just the uncomfortable pause. Okay, I'm not mentioning Fugazi anymore. I've done it enough, and I don't want to characterize the legacy of Beastie Boys, who I just know are massively influential by Fugazi. I really think how that band hit me opened up the possibility for me to revisit a band like this and actually appreciate what's going on. So that's my takeaway so far, halfway through the song. But this long break is almost the most tense thing we've heard in the song. It's been so on 10 with tension, dissonance, abrasiveness, and then you just take it all away. It just has this oxygen being sucked out of the piece for a moment to let you go. And then the bass revs up like a motorcycle. It's a massive reentrance of that layer. And it's really the first time you hear it by itself, because I guess the beginning, but the drums are there. I just love how naked it feels here. You can really hear the full tones fidelity. Where that... Man, this is uncomfortable. Sit with your thoughts for a minute. Okay, starting here and we'll keep going. A lot going on here. I find this whole last 20, 30 seconds to be a very interesting production choice, because this song is grounded by that drum part and that bass riff. But it's like all of these other layers and the abrasive little stabs and ins and outs are almost what's loudest. You almost lose your ground there with the drums. And that seems to be a conscious thing, because the drums are a lot more prominent, say. Back here, drums are pretty loud. If I fast forward to where we were, they're a little more tucked away in the mix. I mean, that has to be an intentional thing where those layers are turned up, but I just like the effect. It's like everything's coming to a head just as the bass revved up and brought everything back in. Yeah, that slightly off harmony. Almost nostalgic. I've never listened to the song in headphones. Okay, that's the most attention I've ever given that song in terms of just hearing it properly. And I mean, I like it a bit more. Again, I think I would have a whole different opinion of it if I had never heard it before until today. But I'm seeing parallels with other bands I've gotten into lately that I would never have been into back then. And I think what's genius about their songwriting is this sense of keeping the harmonic content minimal to where you don't really have much more data than they give you. All they really gave you is that dominant interval that just rode and rode and rode and never gave you that resolve. They threw in a little pentatonic lick every now and then, but it has that same simplicity as other hip hop and rap groups that I have listened to. Some of the older stuff, maybe slightly stupid, and just, what I did like about those songs was their uncanny ability to keep one or two themes going harmonically, and it never feel like it got old. But there's a lot of it I just didn't like. So this might be a new avenue for me to pursue, but I wanted to go back to square one today with a song I previously couldn't stand. Here's my reintroduction into Beastie Boys and whatever brand of rap, hip hop, hardcore rock they might fall into, technically speaking. I'm still learning. Always a student here for music. But thank you guys for hanging out with me today. If you'd like to support the channel further, come find us over on Patreon. I do full albums every single month. We break them down just like this, and I also have bass lessons, music theory lessons, and a thriving community full of sweetheart people that love music. Come hang out with us, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I love you all. We'll see you in the next one.